it's it's world known. I mean, it's not. I don't even think it's a
it's
fact.
one
Now,
of the only givens in car audio. It's
Yeah.
like one of the only givens in car
I
audio.
mean, it's a fact now. It's
That sealed is for SQ,
yeah.
ported is for SPL, and 18s are for low bass, and 8s or 10s are for the tight, accurate bass.
Right.
And
Duh.
band passes are for confused people.
That's right. Band passes are for those who don't know what they want to do with their lives.
What about infinite baffle? Is that just nonsense still?
Oh, it's complete nonsense.
Complete and utter.
I know.
That's what I have in my current car. So.
Oh yeah.
I know. Derek,
amazing.
Big D Wilsonton. Is that how you say it? I know he posted Wilston.
Williston.
I'm saying Williston. I don't care how you say it. I don't.
I just say Big D. I don't even bother with his last
Big D
name.
Wiz.
Big D
Big
Wiz.
D.
We what's his catchphrase? Hello. Oh, so I don't know what it is.
No, we out of here. No, that's what.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
He has an outgoing catchphrase.
Your boy.
You big dummy.
Yeah. No, but he posted.
We love Big D.
He posted it a long time ago, and I just stumbled upon it yesterday. Your video of the Celica, and it's just for that time, for even now,
They're crazy.
The amount of craftsmanship is just
well, the thing is, here's the thing about that build was what year was that?
89.
That was the 1989 finals.
Yeah, so like it was way harder to do that in 89 than it is to date, because you could just go on Alibaba and order some actuators and some, you know what I mean? Like it's way harder because everything had to be custom. Like there's like way more cool stuff to buy these days.
Well, we had to invent things.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the thing. He's saying that you couldn't just go on eBay and say, "Look, give me a door popper or something."
Exactly.
Or, you had to
100%. The other thing is you also couldn't just drive it to like the guy down the street and be like, "This is what I want to do," and he'll be like, "What the crap are you talking about?" So you had to invent it yourself. But
Well, yeah, and the good team of people around us who worked on all of those cars that we did back then. So it was kind of cool.
Besides
that moment in time.
That specific car is pretty awesome. I know people probably don't like that car, but I do.
Well, people have opinions about stuff they've never heard. And they say a lot of things about the car because it doesn't conform to today's way of building cars. But it was very successful in its day within the rules that existed back then. And it did a lot of things really well.
No, it's back.
Oh, okay.
So we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It does actually conform very well to the way that people build cars these days, just on the opposite end of the spectrum.
I know it. And you might think that it's one of these, what do they call them? SQL systems or, built to be loud systems. And it got fairly loud for its power level, but it actually sounded really good.
My thing is,
I don't know what's going on.
The big thing to me is, everyone talks about as few drivers as possible to cover the bandwidth that you can. Sorry to SQ out on everybody real quick, but you had 10 drivers per door and like lots of tweeters. Like, was that for sheer output or was that for
partially because I only had 50 watts a channel?
Well, that's also true.
So that kind of changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Like power's so cheap these days.
Yeah, now you can have a Brazilian for 8,000 watts for $400.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
On your mids.
Right. So it was all based on efficiency. To get the efficiency up to a level where the system could be dynamic and play as loud as it needed to without distortion with a limited amount of power. So the amplifiers we used back in those days, the original Precision Power M series, didn't even like to run at 2 ohms. And they could run at 2 ohms for about 2 minutes. And then they got pissed off and shut off. So everything had to be run at 4 ohms in order to keep those amps happy. So we started with the mid-range system in the front of the car, which was a pair of JBL professional mids from their studio monitor line. It's a speaker called the 2105. And it's an 8 ohm speaker. It's very shallow in mounting depth. and it's 94 dB at 1 watt, 1 meter through its bandwidth, right? That only plays down to about 300 hertz, plays very well up into the 6-7 kilohertz range. Very good off axis, very smooth response, paper cone, really light.
Sorry, I was just trying to
a couple of them, you know, running in parallel at 4 ohms would give you a 97 dB at 1 watt efficiency, plus the doubling of power at 2 ohms gives you 100 dB compared to using a single one. So it goes from being 94 dB to being 100 dB in terms of efficiency.
That's something we've touched on the show in the past, is like old school systems versus new school, and Hoffman's iron law, and how you can have a really efficient, you know, or sensitive subwoofer specifically, but you can't have a small box or low end extension. You know, you gotta kind of pick your battles, and
yeah, it's 3 things that you're balancing, and you can only have 2.
Right.
I'm gonna have 3 in my next build, just so y'all know. It's gonna happen.
You're just gonna have to, blend them. But a big deal today, you know, you had 10 drivers per door. I don't know how many people watched that video, but you had 10 drivers per door, and that's pretty common these days. But
in circles.
But they do, you know, I guess they do it for sensitivity or efficiency, I guess.
Well, efficiency was the first thing, right? The second thing that happens when you put 2 drivers close together, like the mids, is you start to affect their dispersion characteristics. So you change the lobing behavior of the speaker, and you can actually enhance vertical dispersion and compress front to rear. So that's an advantage to equalize level between left and right at higher frequencies when you're placing the speakers off axis in a door, and you don't have the benefit of delay or precise left and right level adjustments like you do today with the DSP.
Right. So you're going to have to like get a little further into that. Like a lot of our audience isn't super.
Wait, let's back up though. Everyday Audio's episode 29.
29.
I'm Skippo1 here.
Hey, I'm T-Fade.
T-Fade, and the man in the middle. I think he owns JL or something.
No. I just work here.
He designed the JL W7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he sold, and he bought. They gave him a part of the company because the design was so awesome. So now he owns 0.07 of JL.
I would just walk around and tell everybody I designed a W7.
And
who's gonna
who's gonna say any different? Maybe no one from JL is on social media at all, ever.
I didn't know this was gonna build my rep so
yeah.
Why? Dude, I would so be on social media saying those things.
Right.
Like, who's gonna say any different?
Right.
Also, these rumors spread like that, like wildfire with the guys that we talked to.
Who we got in the middle right here? Introduce
yourself, sir.
I'm Manville Smith. I'm the VP of Marketing of JL Audio. We're an American manufacturer of high quality audio products for car audio, marine audio, power sports, and home audio.
Oh.
I didn't know y'all did home audio, honestly.
I know y'all do subs. Is there anything else y'all do for home?
You never know what might come around in the future. At the moment, it's just subwoofers for the home.
Dude, seriously, there's a normie. When I say normie, I like people who don't know any damn thing about car audio. There's a normie at work that like his lust, like his dream is whatever subwoofer that JL makes for home theater. Is it dual W7s or something?
Well, we make 2 models with dual W7s. There's the big boy, the Gotham, that has twin 13s. Jeez. And then there's a slightly more sane model, the F212, which has 2 12-inch W7s. All the other Fathoms have single W7s in them.
Yeah, I mean, this thing, I guess it weighs like 1,000 pounds and costs $1 million or something.
Not quite.
I mean, and it does like 180 dB at 1 cycle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just say yes.
That's the thing about HT though.
I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm starting to get
you getting it?
That's
you
it.
getting it?
That's it. It's always good to catch on early so you can
right.
you're not left
That's
out.
Right. It's more fun to see him go through the process. Though,
right. Yeah.
Right.
As long as you say it, I'm not responsible.
That's it.
The thing about HT though is these guys need full on, infrasonics, because that's like people guys that we that watch this show for the most part. Oh my god. They think they want subsonics, you know what I mean? But they don't, because it's just mechanical noise at that point, because there's no content.
Flap.
Right, it's just flapping.
Yeah,
but in HT, like they're literal like infrasonic. There's literal infrasonic content, and I know maybe some of the guys watching have HT setups or whatever. But yeah, for sure, you got to get, if you want lows, you got to go HT.
Well, yeah, the movie material has a lot of really intense, super low bass. Very little music actually digs down below 20 hertz.
No.
Most of it doesn't get down below 30 hertz, even if it's got significant, bottom into it.
Okay, so Kicker says 40 hertz. JL says 30 hertz.
Well,
now we know.
Look, low E on a bass guitar, the open top string is 40 hertz.
What about pipe organs, man? We listen to Whale Song and pipe organs all day. That's what we do in bass headland.
Well, the big pipe organ of the modern era is the synthesizer. And that can be a drum machine, or it can be a keyboard or whatever. Obviously you can make those make any sound you want, including extremely low sounds. But there are practical limits to what the producers want to put on recordings for, they don't want to blow people's clock radios off their tables.
I would.
You still got clock radios? That's wild.
I think Tony DeMore still has a clock radio. He's living that analog life.
Us old people, we rely on our old tools. Well, cell phone speakers are another interesting technology. It's amazing.
Are you iPhone or Android? Team iPhone. Team iPhone or Android?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I am a lifelong member of Team iPhone.
Oh, yes.
Because I like stuff.
You like things that work.
That just works.
That's right.
I'm totally in the Apple ecosystem. I've been completely assimilated into it. I have a MacBook.
That's how they hook you.
I know.
I have nothing else.
Deal. I'm bought in. I've given Apple half my income over the last 20 years.
You can only use their products now.
No, I have nothing else that belongs to Apple, though. Nothing. Like, I'm on a Windows laptop. I have a G-Shock. Like, I have nothing else that belongs to Apple.
I was Apple before Apple was cool.
That's right. I try to tell him all the time. I was like in line to buy the very first iPhone the day it dropped, and I've been like iOS since. But I have given Android a shot. I have every year or two.
45, 9mm. What? You said you gave up Android a shot.
Yeah, what'd you get?
Yeah, exactly. I give them a shot underneath the tires of my car. They're garbage. No, I got to trade them back in so I can get the iPhone.
I mean, there's people out there that believe the Earth's flat, so I mean, y'all could have that too. So.
That's true.
Sorry for y'all.
Let me check Siri.
Yeah, like, hey Siri, is the Earth flat?
Is that what it is?
Oh my God, it turned on. Sorry.
See,
it says no. She said no.
Duh.
That's it. That was all she said. Hey Siri, is the Earth flat? She just says. She says.
Would you want her to add to that?
No. It just says no.
No, you dummy, or.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Put your finger in front of your camera. Fade.
What?
Zoom your thing.
Ayo.
Here it is.
Oh, somebody gonna copy my fingerprint now. There you go. If anybody needs to get into my phone, that's not true. I got Face ID. So.
You committed a crime. All right.
I
guess we'll get with the standard questions. We'll start with you.
Yeah, let's start with you.
Yeah, we know. I think most people know about JL. They've been around forever. But how did you start? Your interest in car audio and just how did
where did Manville Smith start? Right. Where
Manville Smith started way back in 1964. That's a long, boring story. Audio for me started when I was a kid because my dad was a big-time audiophile, so he always had nice audio equipment at home.
Wow. Oh, that's nice.
You know, in the car,
our kids are going to be spoiled, dude.
Back then in the car, if you had a Blaupunkt 8-track with a pair of surface mount rear speakers, you were high end in the car, you know. But in the home, we had some really nice equipment. So I grew up listening to good music on good equipment and kind of got an ear for it. In college, I studied speech communications, but I spent a lot of time at the radio station doing radio shows and doing production work and learning about audio there. I did some live sound stuff in college as well. Got me kind of interested in the technical side of things. When I left school, I went to work for my dad for a while. That was not a good idea. So
it never is.
I literally was just needing a job, and I saw an ad in the paper for stereo sales. That's really all it said. Really, back then, you know, newspaper ads were by the word, so I guess they were being cheap. It just said stereo sales, call this number. So I called, and I spoke with a gentleman named Jim Birch, who was the owner of Speaker Warehouse in Hollywood, Florida. And he told me the position had been filled.
Dang.
So I went down there anyway.
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
I wore a suit like a complete dork. I figured you can't be overdressed. Well, you can, but you certainly don't want to be underdressed. So
right.
I didn't know how fancy of a store it was, so I wore a suit. I looked pretty silly. And I walked in and I asked for Jim. He came down and he said, "I thought I told you the job had been filled." And I said, "No, you don't understand. I need to work here. Yeah. I love this stuff. I know what I'm doing."
Change your answer, Jim.
All right. That's right.
So I did a little bit of selling, and I guess he was impressed enough to say, "Okay, you know, come in on Monday. Don't wear that suit." And that's how I got into the, you know, retail side of audio, was at the Speaker Warehouse store. I bought some products for my cars before.
So. Don't take no for an answer. Yes. And
just show up.
Wear a suit.
Just show up with a suit, and you're gonna get the job.
Up and don't take no and wear a suit.
Yeah, and fake it till you make it.
That's it.
You know, I didn't know a lot.
Yeah. Or if you never make it, just continue to fake it. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And
that's what we do.
You have to project confidence and really go for it if you really.
That's huge.
Want it or need it. In that case, I just needed a job really bad, and I didn't want to do something that sucked. I didn't want to sell insurance or, you know, work at an enterprise rent-a-car or something like that. I wanted to do something that interested me. So that's
shout out to the guys selling insurance and working at enterprise.
Yeah, sorry, not my thing. You know, you guys are awesome.
I can't do it. I can't sell nothing.
So I started by selling, you know, car audio, home audio, and DJ stuff at that store. Not knowing a whole lot about it, but doing a lot of reading. And then I met Lucio, who was the other partner in the business, Lucio Proni. And he didn't work in the stores. He worked at a warehouse location that did all the fabrication work for the stores, because we did custom enclosures and DJ systems and all kinds of home speakers and things like that. And Lucio started teaching me some things and kind of opened my eyes to how interesting audio was. I started doing a little reading, absorbing as much as I could, talking to reps, talking to, you know, people who had been in the business a long time, and gradually developing some reasonable knowledge and being more effective as a salesman. So that's how it all kind of started.
What year was this?
This was 1986.
Wow.
So I did it for a couple of years, just typical retail job. And then one of our reps told us about this thing that they were doing called an auto sound competition, a sound off, as they called it. And I said, that sounds like a really stupid idea.
It is, yes, obviously.
It's totally.
If you've never been to one, it's a really terrible idea.
To this day.
So he said, you guys should come out and check it out. And this rep was Alan Lundy, and he worked with Bruce Terrell. They were the Rockford reps and the Concord reps and Audio Control, I think, and a few other brands. We weren't a Rockford dealer, but we were a Audio Control dealer and Concord dealer. So he says, you guys got to come out and check it out. It's really great. And they were working that angle really hard in Florida, really kind of establishing a grassroots competition scene.
What organization was it? Do you remember?
This was NACA.
NACA?
Yeah, the precursor to IASCA. Before IASCA became the International Auto Sound Competition Association.
It was the National.
It was the National.
Ah.
Right? So this was NACA, which was kind of the competition to CAN, which was the other, Car Audio Nationals was the other format. That one was kind of spearheaded by Alpine. So anyway, there was a show in West Palm Beach. They said, you got to come out and check it out. You can even judge.
You can judge?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It was pretty loosey-goosey.
Did you have, you have a car built for this already?
No. I
just wanted to go check it out, and they said maybe you can judge.
I had just traded in a 71 Nova with 2 6x9s. On my first nice car, which was an 84 Celica GT.
Yes.
It's still a nice car.
It is still a nice car.
The Celica was pristine. It was only 4 years old at the time, so fairly new. And I spent everything I had on it. So anyway, my car had nothing in it. It had stock stereo. I went to the event. They made me judge RTA, which was pretty hilarious because I knew how to use the RTA. And the scoring was basically just assign a score from 0 to 40 based on what you see.
Yeah, sure.
So I did,
about what it is now.
I mean,
I had explanations for everybody. Yeah, the reason I'm giving you a 12 is because you had this and this and that.
Right.
Big dip.
They were freaking out, complaining about me. There was all kinds of craziness there. The cars were just all over the place. Everything from, really nicely installed but bad sounding to really horribly installed but actually kind of interesting sounding.
Hey, that's me.
Right. And then there was some just absolute train wrecks, right? One guy in a van had a Denon rack system behind the seats with a generator that he lit up behind the van. That was his entry into the contest. We had to disqualify him. And
I like that.
I like the effort.
So it was pretty Wild West back then, but there were a lot of cars. There were like 50 or 60 cars at this event in Palm Beach, Florida, right?
Well,
for no internet.
Just,
how could you?
Yeah, you couldn't jump on the internet and see how somebody else was doing and copy it, or you couldn't jump on a forum and ask someone how to do it. Like, you had to figure this shit out on your own. If you didn't know somebody that was good at it, you were screwed. You had to figure it out.
And the other thing that helped,
obviously, it's the Wild West. Yeah,
the car clubs, like the mini truck clubs and all the other car related activity that existed, that young people were participating in at the time. You were 16 years old. You didn't want to spend money on an Xbox or a cell phone. You wanted something to drive. And pickup trucks, little Toyotas and Nissans and Mitsubishis were the easiest way to get into something and be able to customize it, right? So a lot of those guys fueled the early car audio stuff, and they put 6 speakers in the doors and cram 2 12s behind the seat and drive with their knees up around their eyeballs, but that's where all the enthusiasm happened, right? And it grew from there. So I came back from that show and I talked to Lucio. And I said, hey, Lou, I saw this show. I showed him some pictures after I got them developed. You had to develop your pictures back then. You didn't just show them on your phone.
Yeah, they have a stack.
I'm explaining for the youngsters.
I know. I don't think people understand.
And Lucio's looking at these cars that I'm showing him pictures of, and he's like scowling. And I'm like, what's the matter, Lou? I said, this is crap. We can take them, We can do better than that. And I'm like, oh, really? That's interesting. And there I began to appreciate the competitive streak that Lucio has, right? And he said, we're going to build a car and we're going to go after this because it looks like fun. That looks like good business. So we already had a guy who had kind of a system in his vehicle. We worked on his car first, then we worked on my car. We put something in much more basic than what you see in that video that's on YouTube. That will be later. But it was really cool sounding. It had some JBL Pro mid-ranges and tweeters and an isobaric enclosure with 8 8-inch JL Audio subwoofers, the original JL Audio 8W2s. They didn't even have a logo on the dust cap back then. They were just kind of a brand that we sold in the store and a couple other stores. And started competing. I came in like 7th my first show.
It's solid. That's a solid showing.
Didn't read the rule book too carefully and missed a bunch of points. But that's where you start, right? And eventually more of us got into it. We started building cars, and we started getting these points to qualify for this national event that was supposed to happen. And then we start reading in the magazines, right? Because again, no internet. So the only way you got things, every month you got your Car Audio and Electronics or similar magazine, and you instantly went and see all the install articles because you wanted to see what people were doing. And the word was that the cars from California were like years ahead of everybody on the East Coast, right? So we were like, oh shit, you know, if we bring our sorry ass cars over there, we're gonna get, you know, absolutely creamed. So that again ignited another round of innovative and competitive, you know, fluid going through our systems, and we tore the cars all apart and started to come up with really, really cool things. We started working with fiberglass, you know, not knowing anything about it. There weren't any videos to watch. There weren't any, you know,
figure it out.
We would you know, brush resin onto mat and slap it on each other's arms, and you know, crazy things like that.
That's a great idea. Everybody who works in the shop, please do that tomorrow. Hashtag Manville said so, and like put that on Facebook tomorrow.
For the skin.
Please make that happen. Hashtag Manville said so.
We were learning how to bend plexi, you know, making these heating elements and kind of figuring out how to bend it without bubbling it and without burning it. You know, a lot of fundamental stuff. Vinyl, right? Everything we had done before then was carpet because it was easy. Carpet or tweed or similar materials, right? But, you know, to go after the California boys, we needed to up our game and actually use some factory materials like vinyl. So we had to learn how to stretch vinyl. And we didn't have all these nice installer-friendly vinyls back then. It was all nasty backed stuff with, you know, woven backings. And it was a pain in the butt. And we had to, you know, work with an upholstery shop. So, you know, there was a whole lot of learning about techniques and materials and things.
How many cars were there with splatter paint?
We never did splatter paint. That's just nasty. Never. Door
things that need to die in 2019.
The door panels in my Celica were made out of plywood, and they were belt sanded to shape.
I can see that. Okay. I can see that.
So if you look at that video again, look at the form there, and you can kind of see it was a stack of parts that were belt sanded to form
stack fab
to form the shape. Yeah, basically stack fab with.
I mean, I can't.
As they call it now.
I can't tell from the video. I couldn't tell. I don't know.
So that was kind of an interesting.
Just stop playing
process.
with your microphone, Skip.
Really dead though. It was solid as hell. The doors weighed about 400 pounds a piece. So the hinges.
My God, how are those hinges not like dying?
Fortunately,
84 Celica, just oh my God,
they were really heavy. So they didn't actually close right. You had to. There was a little trick to closing them. Upward lift.
Always.
So yeah, we worked on the cars. We went to finals in '89. Loaded our cars on a transporter truck because the finals were all the way in Arizona. A couple other dealers in the area hitched a ride on our leased transporter truck. So there were like 8 cars from South Florida that went out there. It was kind of a big thing to unload them in front of everybody at the hotel in Arizona. We went into the competition, and we took a total of 7 cars. 2 drove, 5 rode on the transporter, plus a couple more, and we won 4 first place trophies, including the Pro Best of Show.
Dang! Which one was that? Was that the Celica?
No, that was Lucio's Mustang.
Oh, what the hell?
Lucio's Mustang was...
Hey, was it 2-seat judging back then?
Yeah, it was just 2-seat. There was no 1-seat at all.
That's so cheap. I know everybody that has anything to do with SQ is going to hate
That's how it should be. That's how it should be.
2-seat is so stupid. It is the dumbest thing ever.
2-seat is dumb?
It's dumb. It's retarded. All you do is like make everything symmetrical. What else you gonna do? Super fancy. Everything's the same on both sides and as far away from me as possible. Big whoop. If you want to get into like all pass filters and all that stuff, okay, now we can talk. But back in the day, y'all didn't have all that shit. So everybody, all those old school guys talking about, oh, it sounded good from both seats. No, it sounded as crappy from both seats as it did from the other.
That's so mean.
Well,
I mean, no offense.
You're about 95% right. In the sense that 95% of the cars back then really were fundamentally flawed, you know, because they weren't overcoming the obstacles to a degree that was acceptable.
Yeah.
But I'm was just saying,
like, look, if you get the shit far enough away from you, right, it sounds closer and closer to the same in both seats just because the shit is far enough away from you, right? But it doesn't sound as good as it can in either or the other, right?
With DSP.
Right. Without it.
No, wait.
Yeah, y'all didn't have
one
it, right?
seat with DSP. Right?
Yes.
Versus 2-seat with no DSP. That's what you're comparing.
Yes, of course. Like, we're talking old school because all the old school guys, they always talk about, oh, old school SQ was better and we didn't need DSP and path link differences.
It was harder. I'll tell you that.
It's not harder. How is it harder?
No, much harder.
How?
Because achieving the goal is hard. It's hard to get equal path lengths. You can't. So the best thing you can do is minimize the difference, right? And that basically sort of time aligns you so that you're at least you at least have a chance of having a center image and a proper sound stage. And everything else beyond that gets into the realm of, you know, tuning with angling drivers or with you know, some kind of polarity manipulation on certain drivers. There's all kinds of techniques that were used.
Although you did talk about
back then is
load steering.
People were trying all kinds of things, right? Wacky stuff. Some guys were trying dash speakers with center speakers. Some guys were using like audio control analog center channel processors. Some guys were doing the horns. You know, the horns came out of California and were a big deal. The USD waveguides and later the image dynamic stuff. That was a way of equalizing path lengths. Kick panels were another technique that was very common and very popular. Depending on the car, they could do a really good job if you could get them far enough away from you and there wasn't a big obstruction in the middle like a console. Some people did door arrays, you know, trying to, you know, do pattern control by using multiple drivers. Some people were doing crazy stuff like putting speakers between your legs in front of the seat, firing up, right? And I heard a car that PJ's Auto Sound did back then, Drew Williams and his crew in Pennsylvania, where they didn't tell me where the speakers were. Hey, listen to this, you know. I listened to it and I said, hey, you know, this thing actually, you know, works pretty well. It sounds nice and it's got a nice stage. And he goes, guess where the speakers are? And I'm like, I don't know, because couldn't see anything.
Right, who cares?
And then, of course, they were like in the last place you would ever imagine that you would put speakers and they would work, right? So there was a lot of trial and error, not a lot of science, right? There was a lot of voodoo magic that people would say they had the secret sauce, and it was really not anything more than trial and error or happy accident or whatever it might be. But there were, you know, some really good sounding cars that did a good job from both seats. And those are the cars that generally consistently did well, you know, at the high level competitions.
Let me just break it down.
Hold on.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Second.
How dare you, Fade?
Now we change it to today, right? I can put the speakers within reason just about anywhere in the front and then use DSP to make it sound good in one seat. We all know this, right? So it's really a tuning competition, you know, with install added to the side. How skillful are you as a tuner? How well do you follow accepted, you know, physics and good practices, and then the final tweak. But
no pun intended.
Magic technology being developed out of this that hasn't been around since, you know, 1990. Sony ES system came out in 1990, able to do one-seat cars, and it was laughed out of town, even though it was a brilliantly executed DSP. It was laughed out of town because it didn't do two-seat, right? And at the time in competition, you had to score well from both seats to have a good chance. One guy tried to buck that, and that was Earl Zausmer. You remember that red BMW back in the day with the BMW speakers in the front? He put 12s in the kick panels of a BMW and
my kind of guy.
BMW mids and tweeters up on the dash asymmetrically, all focused on the driver, all delayed to the driver. He even moved the seat with the judge in the seat and had a laser pointing at the judge's ears from the back deck that would locate the driver or the listener exactly where he wanted him. I mean, aligned to the max. Dude, the car was magic. It sounded incredible from the driver's seat, right? Absolutely unbelievable. Better than any two-seat car, right?
Right.
But the passenger seat sounded predictably like everything was down in the door down here. And
who cares?
So what kind of scores did he get?
Awesome.
Average.
Lost.
No, he got average. He got average scores because it was great from one seat and awful from the other.
Right.
So over time, yeah, the rules changed and one-seat formats developed so that guys who wanted to build cars to the one-seat standard could build great cars, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with a one-seat car. I think they're great. I drive one. I have a one-seat tuned in my car. It sounds fantastic.
Obviously, well, that was leading me to my next question: is what do you drive? What do you prefer? What sounds better? One seat. I'm going to answer for you. Period. Done.
Of course.
Duh. Exactly. So what difference does it make? How many, look, everybody watching, Skip and you, how many asses are in your car on 90% of the time? One. Mine. That's it.
I like distance videos.
Yeah.
That's it. So I paid for it.
When you want to show your car off, where do you sit?
I put them in the driver's seat, obviously.
So you sit bitch when you want to demo your car to somebody.
No, I stand outside. I give them the keys, and I stand out there and drink beer. And
that's no fun.
I'm not sitting in there like, dude. It is creepy for real. Sound quality demos are a little creepy. I'm not kidding. Anybody out there who ever gets a sound quality demo will know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't yet, you will, because they'll sit in the passenger side and they're like staring at your face, like waiting for like a reaction or something.
The car's off. It's hot.
Oh my God. Bad.
That's another thing that, that's ridiculous. In Florida, when we did sound offs, engine running, baby.
Oh yeah. I remember it.
I do Florida without the AC. So
yeah,
it's a freaking car. If it can't play with the engine running, you have a problem.
Hey, did they include SPL in that back then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a Mac.
Up to 140 dB, 1 point per dB over 100.
I think that. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still the maximum in some classes.
It was later reduced to 30 at one point, and then I don't know. It went through a few changes, but you weren't allowed to make a change between RTA and SPL.
Oh, that's the key. That's the key, because now, I mean, they have like Bobos in Mecca, right? And it's like you have to SPL, SQ, RTA, and install. But nowadays you can change tunes on the fly. So
right, it would be impossible to police today because it's so easy to change a preset. Or, you can do it any number of ways. Back then, it was a little harder. So there were very creative ways we used to. I mean, people used to cheat. To get a good SPL and RTA, so you wouldn't blow the RTA off the screen, because if you went off the screen, you got like.
How did they judge RTA? Was it flat?
No, it was adjacent bands. Basically, you couldn't have deviations greater than 3 dB in adjacent bands. So in theory, you could have a curve from your perspective that would. Or actually,
smiley face, whatever you want, as long as it was 3 dB,
right? It could be a mountain if you wanted to, but as long as it was smooth in its transition from third
octave that's easy,
to third octave, right? So that's kind of how they did it. Now, most people had an elevated bass because you wanted to get good SPL, right? And then the high end would be right along the bottom of the screen, so you could get the most SPL while still getting a good RTA.
Look, is that where the MS8 curve came from?
I don't know. And then you were allowed to change between those two tests and sound quality. So you could make some adjustments, right? Back then, it was making adjustments like this.
Oh right, turning knobs and stuff
to do all that.
Skip, do you remember trunk mounted EQs and all that?
Yeah,
baloney
screwdriver.
Yeah,
I was arguing with somebody on that the other day. They still make those, you know.
Oh yeah, audio control.
And I'm like, dude, why don't you just get the Dayton DSP or whatever? You know, a normal one. You know, with the PC, and they're like, oh, some people.
We have a JL guest on, sir.
I'm sorry. You don't you get the JL clean sweep? Is that it?
It's not a clean sweep, crackhead.
I'm sorry. I don't know anything about SQ.
The tweak would be the right tool for the job.
TWK 88, right? Tweak 88. And honestly, it's like the next best priced one after the Dayton, unfortunately. Unfortunately for everyone else, I meant is I own it, and I'll tell you, at what is it, $400 retail or something? It's an amazing piece. Not gonna lie. Like, listen, it's not perfect for OEM integration, and I already fussed you about this. It's not perfect.
It's not made for that.
Well, it should be.
Well, we make one for that.
Don't make me buy two things. Like, how hard is it to put OEM integration signal? It probably costs $3 in circuitry. $3.
Yeah, well, probably a little more because that DSP in that product is pretty maxed out with the features that it has, going on. So it would have taken a little bit more power to do that.
Anyway,
it could be done. I mean,
it's amazing. It's a great product. I use it myself. I have it in the truck, and it's pretty awesome. Like, I know a lot of people aren't going to understand what I'm talking about. Like, but you can click and drag the EQ.
Oh my gosh!
Instead of like
real time.
Click. Nobody's gonna know what we're talking about, Manville. Don't worry about it. Look, let's talk about
parametric EQs to people.
No, we're not gonna get into parametric versus graphic and all that. We're not even gonna do that. We're not even gonna do it.
I would listen to that.
Really?
I mean, like, cause why have both? Like my, can I say my Alpine? Can I talk about Alpine? My Alpine has both, and it makes you pick one or the other. I'm like, I don't know what's better.
Well, in that case, the third octave is better.
The what?
In that particular case, if you have the Alpine, I think you have, the third octave is a better choice.
Which means the graphic, the 31 band graphic.
Is that the one you could change the frequencies on?
No.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't I want the one I can? It's
fewer bands in the Alpine, right? The parametrics. What Alpine do you have? I'm sorry.
It's an old one. It's like the
PXE H650 or something like that.
It's the H100 when the imprint thing or whatever.
Yeah, you guys have different definitions of old.
I have no opinion on that.
Oh, okay.
Good luck.
All right, so listen, everybody. Look, let me give you the T-fade retard definition of graphic versus parametric. All right, parametric lets you just determine how many frequencies around the frequency you're playing with get affected. So it's called a Q, in case anybody's wondering. So you could do it like a shelf, or you could do it like a peak, right? Manville, which one is low number and which one's a high number?
The wider bandwidth is the lower number.
Okay, so this is like a 1.
Sharper filter is the higher number.
Okay, so this is like a 10. All right.
The easy way to remember Q is that it's expressing the sharpness of the filter. So a high number is sharper, a low number is more broad.
Okay, so that also brings us to like a higher Q in like a sealed box, right? A higher Q is got a peak and then a sharp roll off, right? Okay, so parametric EQ, right? You can change the Q where you can change the shape. So one frequency is affecting this many frequencies or this many, or it's like one frequency. Whereas a graphic, you're stuck. A graphic EQ, like most of us have, is you're stuck at 315, 650, 1K, 1.25, like on the 80 PRS, and et cetera, et cetera. So, and the Q is usually locked in at what, like 4.7 or something?
Depends on how many bands it is, right?
Yeah. So, I know. All right, people are already getting bored. Let me just say, you can change.
Dying out there.
Right. Okay. Let's just say, listen, 5 bands of parametric EQ is probably pretty close to like 31 bands of graphic. Well, maybe not.
I think.
Okay, let's say 10 and 31.
a 10-band parametric can do everything you will ever need.
Yeah, right. Which is
tune even a wide bandwidth system, even one that's full range.
Yeah.
Usually 10 bands is more than enough to do that. It's a different way of tuning, though. With a parametric, you start by looking at bigger problems and addressing them, and then work your way down to minor problems, right? Whereas with a graphic, you're manipulating these tiny slices of the frequency response, each with its own little amplifier, right? Which is what the EQ filters do, and they overlap each other and interact with each other, and it's kind of imperfect. The thing with a graphic is that the numbers correspond to the RTA that you use to measure it, right?
Right.
So it's really easy on the brain that way. You look at your RTA and you go, it's 3 dB down at 640 hertz. Let me take the 640 hertz slider and boost it 3 dB, and that'll fix that, right? That's how you think. The end result isn't like that if you look at it with a higher resolution measurement. But on an RTA, you go, oh, I fixed it. So it's kind of you're using the same kind of expression to measure as you do to adjust. Whereas with a parametric, you have much more flexibility. The analogy, and all analogies are flawed, but the analogy that I use to explain it is a graphic EQ with a lot of bands is like that 64 box of Crayola crayons you always wanted when you were 8 years old. It's got the most colors in it, and it comes with the pencil sharpener, and it's really cool. And you're the cool kid in class when you got that many colors. But a parametric is like oil paints. You can mix them and create any color. It's millions of colors that you're capable of creating by mixing different oil paints, and that's kind of the visual analogy.
That's actually a really good analogy, and I hope everyone out there can get that.
I was this many years old when I figured out what Q was. I honestly never knew what it was. I'm sorry. I mean,
so
it's the ratio of amplitude to bandwidth.
That's awesome.
It's a mathematical expression.
I've mentioned it before when we talk about like finding resonant frequency and a like SPL resonant frequency and shit like that. But I'm actually going to do a video on that coming up. But but we got to wake these guys up, man. We got to talk about SPL. Okay. We got to talk about like getting loud or annoying neighbors or like winning trophies. Like, what are the trophies behind you for?
Oh, well, the blue one is the first place at the 1990 IASCA finals.
Nice.
In the Pro 251.
Oh, they've gotten much bigger since then.
That's what she said.
My trophy's plenty big. The wooden one is from Spring Break Nationals in 1989, first place. And there's one behind it, maybe hard to see.
Are those Utopias in that tower right there?
No.
Just kidding.
There's one behind it that's from 89 too, so it's just some of my.
Man, that's a long time to keep track of trophies. I don't have any from like a year ago.
Dude, I have like
that's
my
amazing.
like my first season
That's
worth,
what it is.
And then I have all my finals trophies.
I have 4 trophies left from, I don't know.
That's me. I have my first season, and then I have all my finals, and then everything else in between I just leave them. I don't mean to say that like I'm trying to be a douche or whatever, but keep them and pass them along to people who want to display them and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'll show you one more.
Oh, here we go. We're getting special.
This one's small.
God, my fucking mic sucks, dude.
Just order this one, or get the Plantronics thing.
It's not very fancy.
Oh. What is this?
You read what it says?
I can't. Hang on.
Masters International Tournament.
Whoa.
Masters Invitational.
Is that USAC?
251 to 500 first place?
That's right.
Oh. It used to be Power Class. I thought that was a USAC thing.
No, that was the way IASCA was stupidly structured back then, too.
Oh, my God. That's fantastic.
The Masters was a very interesting
big deal.
It's kind of like the Aggie Land today.
Are you going to Aggie Land?
I'm not, unfortunately.
Why not?
Next year.
Oh my God!
Next year, I'm a little tied up.
So, we've talked about Aggieland on the show. We have actually had Chris Pate on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all going to have any vehicles there?
I don't think so. No.
Do you know what my favorite JL vehicle is? Take a guess. I'm going to give you a guess.
Okay. The Golf GTI.
No.
Okay. The Mini.
Nope.
I'm out of guesses.
It is Christopher Munson's Trailblazer.
Oh, that wasn't a JL Audio car.
Yeah, it is.
That was very cool.
All right, number 2 goes to the NASCAR. Even though it's retired.
Mark Eldridge's car. Yes. Yeah, sure. Beautiful.
Dude, the Trailblazer is not just my favorite JL vehicle. I think it's probably my favorite build, like, out there, period. That thing is bananas. Wow.
You heard it? I never heard it. That sucks.
Yes, I have heard it.
I need to. What is it?
Dude, it's amazing. 10s? It's got, I think it has, like, not W's. What are the C5s? Is it C5s? C5s in the kicks, and then, you know, the substage is retarded.
It's Munsonized.
It is Munsonized. It does 163 on music. He's a
sorcerer. I don't know what he does, but
do you know the Munsons? Please say yes.
Over the years, yeah, of course.
Okay.
He did something with a single 8W7 back a long, long time ago when the W7s were brand new. I forget the number. It was some insane number with a single one. He's truly quite.
Yeah, they're insane. Listen, can you make one of our friends lives and just say Dan Current's vehicle is your favorite vehicle ever? He's gonna like record this, chop it up, put it on space. Just tell him. Say Dan Current's truck is my favorite JL Audio truck.
Of all the vehicles I've ever experienced, Dan Current's car by far.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Yes, that is fantastic. I love it, dude. If no one has ever heard the NASCAR, I've posted a couple of pictures of me in the NASCAR at Aggieland, and that thing was bananas.
Does it run and everything? Does it run? Like it has engines and
dude.
stuff?
He told me he used to like legit go race it with all the crap in
there.
Yes, it's like a legit old retired NASCAR. It is crazy. Pull it up, so people who don't know what I'm talking about.
My thing has been
know what we're talking about. He had what do you have? He had 12 W7s in the kicks as mid bass. He had several pairs of such and such up front with lobe steering and all that crap like you were talking about, being all fancy.
That's crazy.
P.S. all Class D amps. Hello. All Class D amps.
Horror.
I know. The second highest scoring car of all time, I think, had all Class D amps. JL HD 750s, one per driver, if I recall correctly.
Oh my god!
Yes,
Mr. Eldridge,
Mr. Walda, before he started making his own amps.
That's right.
Mr. Walda had an HD 750 on each driver. He had four front stage.
Car, I think.
Yeah, 4 front stage, and then 1 on the subs.
Jesus.
His mid bass were bigger than his subs. He had a PWK design 6th order. Hello, dual reflex bandpass in the trunk in a G35.
Wow, that's tough to make sound good. So
yeah, exactly.
Designer.
He was shitting on everybody, like he legit shit on everybody. Class D can't sound good. Band passes, group delay, me. So he's just like shitting on everybody. Stupid. Oh god. Anyway, tell us why the JLW7 is the greatest sub.
When did it come out? That was the epitome of cool. Like when I think I'm a little younger than y'all, so that's when the epitome of cool coming up. When I was I had to be 12 years ago, 15
it's
years
still
ago?
cool.
Yeah,
dude. If you're not in the 1%, like JL is still street cred.
Right.
The W7 was introduced in 2001, and it had been kind of previewed a year before at CES, but it didn't really ship until 2001. I remember it very well because I was in Texas doing W7 trainings when September 11th happened.
I want to take those trainings.
So that was a very memorable, imprinted date for me. It was a very tough day, a very tough time period for everybody. But That's how old the W7 is. And then it was refreshed in 2011 in an anniversary edition where we changed the cosmetics and a few details to kind of update it after 10 years. And it's coming up on its 20th anniversary in a couple of years. So
that's amazing.
That's
pretty much. Yeah, there have been some, engineering refinements to the product here and there, small things, but fundamentally the speaker is unchanged since its introduction. It's kind of a testament to how good the fundamental design was. And
how many patents are there on the W7?
I think there are 7 on the W7.
As it should be.
Various things related to the surround, the way the surround comes over the edge of the basket, relating to the way the speaker is assembled. There's something called F-cam and floating cone attachment. A bunch of interesting ideas that were developed to create a better performing speaker, and the goal from the beginning of the W7, and people have a hard time understanding this, but it was to create the best sounding subwoofer possible. It was SQ first, second, third, and fourth. The fact that it's very capable of producing, high SPL is part of the formula for why it sounds good. The idea being that if you have a speaker that has a tremendous dynamic capability, when you're operating it within a normal listening range, it's completely linear. You're always in its happy zone. The suspension's not stressed. The motor's completely linear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of like if you have a big old V8 and you're using it on the street, it's very very flexible and nice to drive. So W7 the motor design was actually prototyped. The concept of the motor was prototyped in the original 15W3. That's something a lot of people don't know. The 15W3 was like a test mule for the W7 motor technology.
Really?
If you take an old 15W3 apart, you'll see an undercut cross-drilled pole piece on it. That's very similar to a W7's pole piece. So that was some of the DMA optimization we had been working on, this computer modeling system to linearize motor behavior that resulted in that design. That was actually tried on the 15W3, which was a beautiful driver, great sounding driver too. Earlier we were chatting about why there was no 15W7. There kind of is a...
There kind of is.
Kind of. Not doesn't quite
have the rare. Mike D.
Doesn't quite have the suspension chops of the W7, but the motor in the 15W3 was great. So it was something that we were working on for years, and we took our time with it. Lucio was not going to release it until he was happy with it. And it really kind of leapfrogged, the state of the art at the time for excursion capability, linear excursion capability, linear suspension behavior, etc. 20 years later, there are other woofers out there that compete with it in terms of all those parameters. But the fundamental recipe of the W7 still remains quite compelling and quite good.
What cracks me up about JL in general is that, like, y'all, it feels like at heart y'all are like a sound quality brand. You know what I mean? But every time I see JL used like outside of the 1% of the 1%, it's like
it's wanging,
beating down a block.
It's wanging.
You know what I mean? It's like a status thing, but they're using it for SPL. It cracks me up. It cracks me up.
We love all our customers.
Well, yeah, obviously they all got money.
It's all green.
All
down.
Our customers matter, whether they're they just want to hit it hard on the street, or they want to have a mix of SPL and SQ, or whether they're really obsessed about sound quality. It's all good. It's all audio. It's all fun. It's not life and death. It's not brain surgery.
Definitely not.
It's supposed to be fun, and there are different cultures within car audio that we can appreciate for what they are. I mean, I think the high SPL stuff, it's not something I would ever do, but I have serious respect for the energy, the time, the engineering, the effort, and the brain power that goes into that stuff. It's really serious. The numbers being hit today are just,
it's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid.
It's retarded.
It's not.
Things that are.
You can't listen to that daily.
Like JL Audio should sponsor some sort of SPL competition to see what the loudest possible score with like a single JL driver.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing that out there.
From a marketing perspective, and I'll speak as the VP of marketing now, we've chosen not to emphasize that.
SPL? SPL?
Yeah, SPL competition in our marketing. We did for a while back in the 90s. We had a few competitors out there doing really nicely with 15W3s actually, and 18W3s, and later a few with W7s. But there's a bunch of reasons. First of all, the cost of it is really high. The damage to speakers is it's kind of like drag racing, where you rebuild the motor after every run. Well, it was kind of getting like that, where you needed a whole batch of 18 new woofers, because you blew 6 of them and they were tired, and it was logistically difficult to support. So that played into it. But also you have to kind of plant your flag somewhere in terms of what you stand for in audio, and we prefer to lean more towards the sound quality side in terms of our image. It's what separates us, right? There's lots of companies out there making good speakers that can be used for SPL, and that's great. But we try to deliver a product that delivers an enjoyable musical experience for a listener inside the vehicle, not for a microphone on the dash, right? At that point, it ceases being audio. Really, it's really a pressure competition. It's not about reproducing the recording anymore, right? It's about making a loud event happen.
That's actually a really good quote right there.
Loud
you
event.
Should probably maybe like, as the marketing director, maybe work that into y'all's paperwork. Made for ears, not the mic.
I can record this and write it down after.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever it is.
No one cares about.
I'll clean it up and I'll message you and you can pay me.
But you said something a minute ago that made me pause. That about the SQ thing. We are SQ driven. That's the people here are all about SQ. Whether we're designing a $99 coax or $1,000 subwoofer, we're doing our best to make that thing perform best in class. And when we say perform, we mean in terms of its sound quality. So we take it really seriously. We have a huge research team here. We have all the toys you need to design great speakers and great amplifiers and everything else. We have more amplifier engineers than any company in car audio. We have more transducer engineers, I think, than any company in car audio. And we're actually building speakers here in the U.S.
Oh, really?
In our factory in Florida. So a lot of our woofers are built here. Our home subwoofers are built here. We use components sourced from all parts of the globe, but all the final assembly, all the engineering, all the brain work that goes into the product happens right here.
No kidding. So y'all don't just call up China and be like, yo, we need 1,000-watt amp. Holla at me. Let me know when you're done with it.
No, even when it comes to an entry-level product, we have to put our own mark on it. And when you're trying to make a $199 500-watt amp, right? You do have to rely on the global supply chain, China, to make that product happen, because they're buying the parts and making the boards in such numbers that the economies of scale work out to hit those price points, right? But even in those products, if it's going to have the JL Audio name on it, we do a very thorough engineering of that to make sure that it's going to be reliable, first of all, that it's going to sound good and deliver the value that we think our customers expect. As you move up in the price ranges, there's more and more of our engineering expression in the product, right? So you move into a product like an XD amplifier, you're definitely moving into a product that has all of our design effort in it. So there are shades of that at the lower price points, but by and large, our products are developed right here. All the speakers are developed here. It doesn't matter whether it's our C1, which is a $79 coax, or a C7, which is a $2,000 component system. They're engineered right here.
All right, so all speaker engineering is done in-house. Transducers, I should say, subwoofers, speakers, tweeters, all that. And then some of your amplifier stuff is done.
Only the real entry-level stuff has some shared componentry with other stuff.
Okay.
And that's simply to hit the price point that needs to be hit.
Sure.
That's about to change, actually. We'll have a product soon that has a lot of JLDNA in it at a really good price. But
oh, here we go. Here we go. God damn it.
Teasers.
I know, dude. I swear, every time we have another guest on this show, I'm going to go broke because I'm just like going to be buying all their stuff.
I have one right here. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
That ain't going to happen.
Do you not have anything crazy to show us on this show? Nothing. Like, there's something within arm's reach you can grab and be like, ah, teaser.
All right.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. All right. What is it?
In 2004, we introduced the product that came out of this prototype. This was the original engineering prototype for the Clean Sweep CL441 DSP integration processor, which was the first digital integration processor that automatically tuned itself, and was introduced to the market in 2004. So it was a pretty cool product in its day. Look how big the damn thing was.
Dude, that thing is needed more now than when it came out.
Well, we have the fixed products now, which kind of take the place of this and do more than this ever did. They're much more advanced products. They do summing and accept more channels of input and do all manner of things that this can't. That this only equalized. So it took 4 input signals, adjusted them in level, and then equalized them to flat, and then spit them out the RCAs. So that's really all the Clean Sweep ever did. It was quite a cool trick back in 2004, right?
Yeah. Yeah, nobody had that, huh?
So that's my show and tell.
That's your show and tell. That is the coolest thing you have in your office right now.
It's a prototype. What else you want?
Come on. He's got to have something in there we want to see. Pull something out of a drawer. Show us some internal documents or something.
You like my Craftsman toolbox?
Yeah.
I love that you have a toolbox in your office, though, for real. Like, you have those old trophies and a toolbox and some Focal Utopias in the tower behind you.
Gotta have tools. Your own tools.
Right.
Obviously. I wonder what your day-to-day is like that you have a Craftsman toolbox in your office. I love that.
Well, sometimes we have a training center here where we do a lot of trainings, and we're setting up audio demos and all kinds of things like that. We get prototypes in, and we need to take them apart and kind of take a look at them. So, a little bit of product development work happens.
I'll be remiss if I don't ask a question from the chat box right now, because you guys do
red stapler. Who said red stapler?
Oh, do you have a swing line?
Aaron, I have a swing line model.
Is this an inside joke?
God knows what.
Is this
in Long Island, New York?
How does Aaron know he has a red stapler? Oh my, there's some Illuminati going on here.
You see my stapler?
Have you seen my stapler?
I love my stapler. It says USA on the front too.
My God,
America.
Dude, you need JL stickers on that immediately. I would
see when you make it doesn't break, then you don't need to replace it.
That's true,
and that's kind of a good thing for the consumer, and not a good thing for the swing line company.
Right.
So now they make them out of plastic, and they're
if you can. I mean, if you sell it for $1,000, it's fine if you don't ever sell them another one again. But you can sell them 10 $100 staplers or one $1,000 stapler?
I think Aaron's been spying in my office at night.
Dude, I think maybe he just guessed at that. I don't know, but that's hilarious.
He might have a spy.
Oh my God. That's too funny. So anyway, my point was I have forced to ask you about GaNFET amps. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? And or do y'all have any plans to
geeky stuff? Yeah, gallium nitride, right?
Sure.
Gallium nitride FETs. Yeah, what about them?
Do y'all have any plans to make them? What do you think about them?
I am no engineer, so I play one on television.
Sure. I play one on Facebook.
I spoke to Bruce McMillan, who is an engineer, about newer FET technology when we were doing the VXI amps. The VXI amps use a direct FET technology, which is very good. We did, if I remember correctly, the statement he had about GaNFETs was that at the voltages that our amplifiers are operating at in terms of output voltage, they don't offer a significant benefit or advantage. So that was
I thought it was the switching speed. Mike D. The switching speed.
How fast do you want it to switch?
I don't know. 100 billion cycles.
Ludicrous speed.
Well, yes. Then go for it.
I mean, I don't know. Is twice the human hearing? It's not any good anymore, apparently. Anyway,
yeah.
Skip, you got any questions for Manville?
Switching in the 400 or 500 kilohertz range. So.
Oh wait, I did have something. Wait, talk amongst yourselves.
As much research and development as any other brand, and quality and reliability. Oh, y'all just y'all just sucking up now.
No, somebody asked how do they come up with prices, but that's
how we come up with prices.
That's what somebody asked.
Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, there it is.
First of all, I know that the story with JL Audio is it's good, but it's expensive, right?
$1 a watt.
I mean, it is expensive.
It is. Yeah, good things are expensive. And basically, if we did more cookie cutter stuff, we could offer things that are less expensive. But with the research that we do, the people that we have on staff, the effort that we put into things to create kind of unique solutions and really high quality products, there's a little bit of a premium attached to that. So the product is a little bit more expensive as a result of what goes into it from a human perspective and from a materials and specification perspective. There's tons of choices out there on the market. We're honored to be in a position that we're the #1 amplifier company and speaker company in the U.S. market in terms of dollar volume.
No kidding.
So we are, we're definitely doing it right from that metric, right? Our average selling price compared to other brands is much higher. So we sell fewer boxes, but at a higher price. And that's kind of, where we want to be in the marketplace. We want to offer a premium solution, a better product. We may not be your first amplifier. We may not be your first speaker. Okay, but it's a product that a car audio enthusiast can aspire to, because it does offer a step up in terms of performance. And when you reach the higher levels of our product line, it offers, state-of-the-art performance in any category you want to look at. So it's a value judgment that our customers make every time they choose to buy our brand or buy any other brand. I don't see people giving too much of a hard time to European brands that charge a lot for stuff, right?
Well, so that's Europe. They can do what they want.
Well, but they sell them here, right? So
you mean like Italy?
When you see a $2,000 European amplifier, everybody goes, "Ooh, that's really beautiful."
Well, that they have the mystique.
Fade's got like 4 in his garage.
$1,300 channel VXI with DSP built in, and they go, "Oh, that's really expensive." So I think sometimes we have certain things in our head about where we position brands from an emotional perspective or from a hierarchy if you will. That may not exactly be factual, but it's more of an emotional thing.
So I did not know y'all I didn't know y'all were #1 in the U.S. That's awesome, and I appreciate that because like y'all keep a lot of money here. I mean, I know y'all do your
that's actually a good point, and also we're still here.
Right. Well, that was the other point I was going to make. Dude, who else is not a shell of what they used to be? JL is thriving. I think Alpine maybe is the only other one that has hung on this long. Kicker's doing all right, you know what I mean? But they aren't who they used to be.
Alpine's a big company. They have a huge OEM audio business that's really the lion's share of their business, making products that go into cars at the factory.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That's true. That's right. Toyota, I think, has an Alpine.
Same goes for Harman. Harman's now owned by Samsung, but they're a huge OEM audio player.
That building you're in right there, like, is there some part of it, like, there's a huge, like, warehouse where, like, there's, like, machines, like, stamping out shit and doing things and...
This particular building I'm in has a warehouse behind it where we do shipping for several of our products, and it has a training facility that we use for training, dealers, reps, etc.
Is there anyone in that building that wears like a white lab coat? Anywhere in that building?
No, nobody wears one except on Halloween.
Damn it!
But if you visit, we'll make sure we.
Bruh, I'm for real. We are coming to Florida, and there better be some lab coats going.
We have 100.
I need a hairnet.
Square feet of facility here, right? 180,000 square feet here. We have 35,000 in Phoenix, Arizona. We have an engineering office in Portland, Oregon. We have engineering in Switzerland. We have people in Asia who manage our sourcing and a bunch of other things. So we've become a pretty big international company. We have over 500 employees now, which is quite a milestone. We're running 2 shifts here at the factory in Florida, making marine speakers and car audio products and stealth boxes and all the stuff that make JL Audio what it is today. So we, having started with the company when it really consisted of about 6 people, for me, it's incredibly humbling to think, how strong and how big the company has become. We used to sit around back in those days, back in the early 90s, thinking how big we wanted to grow, right? Dreaming. Oh, it'd be awesome if we could become a $5 million company, that kind of thing.
What is it now?
Say it.
It's a privately held company, so we don't brag.
Say it.
But yeah, it's a lot.
So is it more than 5 million? Obviously.
Yeah.
Skip, dude. When you and I start a company, we're gonna be like, man, I can't wait to grow.
$1,000.
Yeah,
I got like $1,000 a year.
I can't wait until we sell a speaker and we can buy a new exhaust for our CRX.
The company's also doing, marine, home, power sports, and car. So we're really well diversified, I think.
So look, Manville, I appreciate you coming on. We got to wrap this up. Skip, you got something for him?
Yeah, yeah. Why the rest of the world goes 8, 10, 12, 15?
Yes.
Why 13.5?
Because when Lucho was designing the 13W7, he initially wanted to make a larger driver than that, but he couldn't get the balance he wanted in terms of the moving masses and all that with the larger speaker. He wanted to make a bigger speaker than a 12, but he didn't want to throw away the balance he was looking for. So he ended up at a 13.5.
It's all about compromise.
Which is, because we were designing everything on the speaker. We could have made it a 16.25 if we wanted to, or
that would have been way more awesome.
That'd have been sick.
So it kind of became a thing, and then when we did W6s, we did the same thing, and now we have a 13 TW5 and 13 W3s.
Hey, what do you have in your car now?
My car, my subwoofer is our Marine Infinite Baffle sub, the M10 IB5.
What?
Mounted up to the rear deck. of my Cadillac CT6 in infinite baffle configuration.
What's in the front?
It sounds fantastic.
What's in the front? Is it all stock up front?
There's a C7 6.5 in each door, a C7 3-inch mid in each dash position, and a C7 tweeter in each pillar, in each A pillar.
Why don't you bring that to Aggieland?
Factory grills.
You should bring that to Aggieland. It sounds fantastic.
It does sound good. I took it to Knowledge Fest in Indianapolis last year, and a bunch of people got to hear it. It sounds really good. It's a 1-seat car. The 2-seat tune that I've attempted 65 times sounds poor. It's not even close.
Terrible.
But that's because of the dash speaker positions. You just can't overcome that in a 2-seat. If I were to build the car as a 2-seat car, it would have different speaker positions, and it would be a different.
Man, I'm just trying to make it sound good for me. You know what I'm saying? Listen, here's my thing.
It will make one audiophile type person extremely happy at a time. I have a setting for each.
It's not even so much that I'm the one who paid for the car and I'm the only one that's in the car so often and blah, blah, blah. The biggest thing for me is that if there's someone else in the car, probably having a conversation.
That depends on who it is.
So I mean, maybe you got the wrong people in your passenger seat, but like, I'm not trying to, do like, critical listening when there's other people in the car. I don't know. Anyway,
that's okay, man. Someday you'll hear a good 2-seat car. And
I've heard a good I've heard a great.
You heard Eldridge's car, right? That's a good 2-seat.
That's exactly right. I've heard Eldridge's.
That's what you have to go through.
I've heard, but I heard Eldridge with his 1-seat tune. But I heard a great 2-seat car at CES. Was a competitor of yours, and it was awesome. It was fantastic. But we were sitting in the back seat. Like, what's the point of that? Stupid.
That's sick.
Stupid.
With an up mixer?
I'm not sure what he had going on for processing, but I mean, I'm not gonna.
There's some new stuff happening that may make better 2-seat cars too.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll ever be as good as a 1-seat tune.
But, no, it will never. That's the point.
But
it
with
will
DSP,
never.
We have the ability to have presets for different listening conditions. So,
like, you take one set of ears, you set them in a car. Does this car sound better than that car? I mean, if you want to start getting teams of people to judge, why don't you stick them in the trunk? What's the difference? What's the difference? Backseat.
That's it. You won me over with that.
I know.
That argument.
I love off the rails, SQ, fade, angry, triggered.
I do. I get triggered, man. I don't
He's
understand
right.
it. Anyway, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
We got to let Manville pitch some products or something, man. You got to tell us
give us something new for 2020.
Yeah, something. Like
Teaser.
automated
tuning
robots.
Yeah, we have a pretty strict policy about not spilling beans on stuff that is trouble.
Click.
But there are some new things happening in car amplifiers. There's new things happening on the speaker side as well. Some interesting additions to the C7 line are in the cards and in the design pipeline right now. On the marine side, everything we did with VXI, with integrating the DSP into the amplifier, you're going to see a marine amplifier line with that capability as well, specifically suited for that application. Marine's a big deal. It's a big business for us, so we have to pay attention to it and feed it.
Well, I wonder about the DSP side of the marine, because there's obviously, like the marine app, there's way more, it's more social. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of people in a boat at the same time. Like, so what the crap do you need delay and all pass filters for and stuff like that?
Well, all pass filters you don't usually need.
I was going,
but you can do some front to rear delay in marine applications that creates a nice sound stage when you're driving the boat. But of course, when you're being social and sitting all over the boat, you want a different listening mode. When you're parked at the sandbar and you're just blasting it, you want a different listening mode than that. So DSP allows you the flexibility to retune the system at the push of a button, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's really the big payoff there, is to be able to create different listening scenarios. You can even have different listening scenarios for being docked and running at speed, right, to overcome the engine noises and the wind noise and all the other things that happen.
I know that your DSP, like I said, I own it. It has like 6 or 7 different presets, and I know everybody has 6 or 7 different presets. And the only thing I can even think about that I would need is like a 1-seat and a 2-seat tune. Unless I was running RTA, then I guess you could have a different one. But I mean, like that's what a bass knob is for. But that's me. Anyway, I'm gonna let you finish up wrapping this up, and then we gotta get it out of here.
In the car, I don't disagree with you, by the way.
Right. Skippy, what you got?
So this is what's gonna happen. One day, me and Fade are gonna make the trip to Florida in a 1989 Honda CRX.
Oh my God! Yes.
And we're gonna be in the parking lot. We're gonna need to borrow a 12W7 or a SPL box, and just gonna send it. And you can supervise. You tell 100%. Us when is when.
Just call ahead.
We got that. I'm serious. That's coming.
We
maybe do, all 12 lines.
We do enjoy giving tours, given sufficient notice to coordinate it.
Like an hour. Like an hour.
No, I'm not giving y'all any time to clean up or put on lab coats.
We're at the Whataburger down the street.
We're like knocking on doors. What's
up? Ain't no Whataburger in Florida, man.
Oh, is that not a thing?
No, there is one.
Oh my God, Travis is gonna be so triggered.
No, there is one there.
The Flanagan's Big Daddy Burger is what we got here.
Oh,
what is that? Here we go.
Don't know. You just don't know.
Hey, listen. I tell your boss that you need to bring the Cadillac to Aggieland because I want to hear it. And since Mark, bailed on us, we have no JL-ness.
That's true.
So
when is the
come
show?
on. April 28 and 29 or 27, 28.
I'm gonna put some big horns on the Cadillac on the hood and
big techs.
You won't do it. You will not do it. Actually, I wish you would. You know what? Because it sounds like it's a stock class car, and I'm building a stock class car, and I want some of you. Bring it.
No, old school, man.
Let's go.
I don't talk.
It's an odd looking finger.
It is an odd looking finger. It is strange. Like I'm looking at it myself.
Yeah, it's weird.
Odd.
I don't know.
All right, we got to get out of here. Beat it.
Yeah, Manville. We appreciate it, sir.
Beat it. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Everybody watching.
Nice talking to you.
Yes, sir.